Fairview's coffee has mysteriously gone missing. Mayhem ensues when strange, coffee-craving zombies plague the city. Detective Mickey Potatoes, an overworked public servant, uncovers why ordinary citizens are losing their minds and how to stop the coffee apocalypse. But it involves the mafia. And when you're dealing with mafia crime families, nothing is ever easy. The mafia controls everything in the city, including the police, including him. If he breaks the mafia, they will break him. So, the city is without coffee. The city is burning before his very eyes, but he's powerless. Detective Potatoes has the power to stop the coffee apocalypse, but if he does, he could lose everything.
The Immortal Mask, a 1970s superhero crime noir adventure that follows a retired soldier who is given a covenant interview with a death row inmate. What he learns from the interview thrusts him into Atlanta's shadowy underworld. He'll have to utilize his military training to survive from being hunted for the information that could topple the most powerful ruling class in the city. This is not a pre-order or a crowdfunding campaign. Get your books now at thenunnelys.com.
Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. The name is Alice Brown, and I'm here to tell you that the Wild West has never been wilder or weirder, especially now that I'm in town. Are you fed up with the same old dusty and dull comic book stories? Then hold on to your hats, because The Vindicators is about to take you on a journey like no other. This is the tale of two unlikely heroes, Flint Decker, a Civil War veteran with steampunk-powered bionics, and yours truly, Alice Brown, a vampire with an insatiable thirst for redemption. Together, we're on a mission to save a town in Arizona from a mysterious and sinister influence that's enslaving the population. But this ain't your great-grandpa's Western adventure, folks. The Vindicators is a weird, wild, and action-packed ride. Think gun-toting bandits, Frankensteinian patchwork golems, and dastardly dwarves. It's inspired by classic 60s TV shows like Wild Wild West and The Avengers, as well as iconic films like Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns. You're going to be transported to a world of peril and mystery, and don't think for a minute that this is just some nostalgic throwback. The Vindicators also incorporates modern influences from popular culture, making it a unique and thrilling ride that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So folks, if you're ready for a taste of the weird, wild, and wonderful West, then saddle up and back the Vindicators on your favorite crowdfunding platform today. Trust me, you won't regret it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I must bid you adieu. I have some bandits to decapitate and some blood to sip. I do declare, this town won't know what hit it.
"25 seconds to curtain, folks."
Your favorite podcast is Critical Blast.
Ladies and gentlemen, X53 Studios is in the house. Asif, welcome to the show again, my friend. It's been a little bit since you've been here.
Yeah, I think the last time I was here was Ghosthawk and Falconet, right?
Yes, definitely here for that. And folks, I've got that book. That book was a lot of fun and had some really neat add-on items to that as well. The X53 Studios has a brand, a look to it that, you know, if you've seen two books, you've got the pattern down already. And it looks like Alice Brown is just slipping right into that pattern. These are good girl books. I've not had that much, I promise. Tongue got in the way. So yes, Woody, as you saw the thumbnail, yikes indeed. And thank you for using the wrench to throw the URL into the chat. That URL, by the way, is below the video the entire time, even on replay. So click it anytime. It'll open in a new window. Throw some money at this thing. George Gatson wants to know, when is the show going to start? Soon. The show will start soon, George. We're going to get there. Pops is in the chat saying, "Hey, yo." Corey Barton in the chat. Yes, loved Kozor. If you got Kozor, you know to watch these guys and get in on their next thrill ride. They're going to put out soon. And Mike Walters is here, has liked and shared the stream. We appreciate that. We not for us, not for me. Do it for our guests so that more people can see the product that they're putting out there. I don't care. I know I'm not getting enough monetization to matter to a hill of beans. I'm not an e-celebrity, so it doesn't really matter to me. But, you know, the more hits he gets, that's why we're here. So, Asif, questions abound here. The first one completely unrelated to the book, because I'm just curious, how did you come up with the masthead, the X53? Is there a story behind that, or was it just a roll of the dice, Scrabble tiles?
So yeah, that's actually a pretty good story behind it. I was so not to give out my age here, but I was 53 when I decided I wanted to start this thing, and the X was there because I didn't know if it would take off, fail, whatever. So it was like a complete unknown. So that's the reason why it's called X53 Studios.
That's a good reason. Good enough. Yeah. I couldn't tell for sure if the world of Ghosthawk and Falconet and the world of Arachna were the same world. I think they were.
Yeah.
And on that assumption, then I'm curious if the Vindicators exist in the history of that world.
Yeah, it's all the same universe, different timeline at this point, because obviously this is taking place in the 1865. But there's things you'll see that are in Arachna 1 even that will work off of Vindicators. So we're putting in things already with this thing called the Society, which Alice and Flint work for. And they're pretty nefarious. Like Alice and Flint don't know what they're working for. And I don't want to give too much away from the graphic novel, but you'll see ramifications of what's going on in the Vindicators into Arachna 1, 2, and also Gothic and Falconet.
So I'm curious, because I know that from the trailer that everybody just saw, Alice Brown is a vampire.
Yep.
And vampires have a notoriously long life.
Yep.
So part of me wants to think we might see her pop up in an Arachna or a Gothic and Falconet book in the future.
Yeah.
And the other part of me says,
yeah, go ahead. Other part.
Well, the other part of me says, if we do see that, it kind of takes all the suspense out of any of the stories along the way of Vindicators, because like we know she's going to survive because she's in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is some thought about putting her into Arachna 3, but then again, like what you just brought up is the same thing. I think about is if she's already in the future, then she survived. Now Flint is a different story altogether, because Flint is a mortal, and he's part machine at this point. But there is thoughts about kind of working at least Alice into it and kind of working back to what happened to Flint or something like that. But also trying to keep the books their own thing. One of the reasons why I got out of comics was because these big crossovers that you'd have to buy like 20 books to get a story out. And I didn't have the money to support it. I didn't like reading about different artists or writers or whatever. Like there's people that I like that I supported with, when you're a kid, you have X amount of money that you can spend on comics. I couldn't afford spending, things on crossovers where, there's artists working that I don't really like, or writers working that I don't really like. So I like to try to keep these self-contained books. So if you have one, you pretty much know what the story is. And they're not running into second stories. At the end of Arachnas, we do put a cliffhanger at the end. So it kind of leads to the next story, but if you read the book, it's a self-contained story. Arachna did make a very small appearance in Gothic and Falconet, where Baron's looking at the screen and there's Arachna on that screen. Right. But yeah, things like that will be there, but I really want this to be, you spend your hard-earned cash on this, you're going to get a full story out of this. You're not going to be reading other things to get a complete story. I
don't mind event books that bring everyone together for something, and that can even be referenced in their own titles after. But like with Crisis, I remember Crisis, and I was picking up everything that had to do with Crisis. I was high school at the time, and it was like, oh, there's a Red Skies crossover here, and that was the only thing that mattered to the Crisis, was that the sky was colored red.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? I didn't even need this book. But you made me buy it. But the stories themselves, my favorite crossovers were just the annual Justice League, when the Justice Society would show up. It was right there, all self-contained, all the characters come together, and you didn't have to buy every other book to know what was going on. That was the event right there. Again, I was, those I think those were kind of where it started, and then obviously publishers might have realized that, all right, if you make them bigger and bigger and bigger, people buy more and more books or whatever. Yes.
I think to a point, it's like team ups are fine, like, but I just don't like buying like 20 books to kind of get a story or whatever. That's not.
Yeah, it's a total waste of effort, especially when the event suddenly becomes, you got to buy all the annuals. That was. Yeah, like Secret Wars was brilliant marketing, because you didn't have to buy every book, but by golly, you were going to buy the books that had the characters you liked, because you saw them disappear in. Okay, let me backtrack that. Most events now make you buy the other books because you want to see how it relates. Mm-hmm. Secret Wars use the other books to make you buy Secret Wars. It's a total reverse thing, because you saw Spidey disappear, and then next issue, he's back in this black costume.
Mhm.
What? How did that happen? I've got to read this series and find this out. So you followed the whole story.
Yeah.
It was kind of a brilliant ploy. They haven't been able to figure out that that's what they did yet, and they can't work it in reverse anymore.
Yeah, I would say modern comics are at this point pretty much dead. I don't think I'm ever going to pick any up anymore at this point. I think they've also kind of painted themselves into a corner with a lot of the checkbox crap that they do. So it's good. It's good for indie publishers, because I think I actually did a post today where I said everything that's going to be whatever you want to use in terms like names, groundbreaking or exciting or whatever it is, that's going to come out of the indie comic scene. It's not going to come out of mainstream comics at this point, because they can't take chances. They can't they can't. They're really hindered in terms of the stories they can tell. They're also owned by mega corporations, and how they work is they don't want to
Don't rock the boat.
Yeah. So you're not going to see that from there, but
because they don't want to influence the movies. They don't want to upset the real cash cows.
Yeah,
we saw this as far back as the late 80s when Rick Veitch was writing Swamp Thing, and they canceled one of his stories. They're like, no, because don't you know Swamp Thing's about to become a hit blockbuster television series on USA, and you're going to get us boycotted? So they canceled the story and then put out a crap series. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think at this point the movies are done also. So it's what you see from Marvel these days. It's pretty awful what they're producing. So I think it's kind of run its course at this point, and you're going to see more kind of diminishing returns moving forward. And again, even those studios, they're kind of hindered by all this stuff too. I think this kind of whole woke ideologies really killed creativity in comics. The funny thing is, to me, it's creators censoring themselves now, rather than it used to be the comic code that did it, and creators would be like trying to get out from underneath it and trying to put in whatever they could in the comics. And they finally got rid of that code, and you had Watchmen, you had Dark Knight Returns, and you had all this great storytelling once that happened. But now it's funny how they're pretty much kind of censoring themselves in terms of writing or creativity. So it's pretty interesting how things work.
They don't want especially with social media now as impacting as it is, that they don't want to wake up to their timeline being filled with a bunch of angry blue-haired shouters screaming at them for whatever crime they committed in their story.
It really is. They've really painted themselves into a corner with this stuff, because those people complaining aren't buying it. They've already alienated the people that were buying it by calling them racist or whatever the hell they did, but or whatever they called them or whatever. But basically, if I go into a store like a Barnes and Noble or something, you see people usually around the manga section, and the Western comics, there's nobody standing in front of that. So I think they've kind of run its course in terms.
I agree. Tomorrow's mainstream is if you're looking for tomorrow's mainstream, you're going to find it in the indie comics of today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the Vindicators. So notice, folks, the green bar is not all the way filled yet. Fix that. Fix that for us tonight. We are at 3577. Let me do a quick refresh, just so I know that we've got a current number. Yes, we do. Okay. It's Indiegogo, so it's not going to change on me without me noticing it. You actually have to do a physical refresh to change the numbers. What motivated you to go back to the Old West in your universe to put a story there?
So so you might know the show. I think we're both around the same age. There was a show that I loved when I was a kid. It was called The Wild Wild West. Yes. And it was James West and Artemis Gordon. And what I really loved about that show was the chemistry between the two, right? And also, if you notice, storytelling wasn't like, it was set in the West, but there was things that, like, I think it influenced partly by James Bond. There was things like modern influences that were going on in that show.
Right.
So you had like Loveless, who was the kind of the main villain throughout the show. He would either shrink James West, or there was things that didn't exist in that timeline that were in that show.
It was really the earliest steampunk.
Yeah. So that was the other part of it. So you'll see. That's correct. Ross Martin did die a little too young. I just, as a kid, I just loved that show. And the other show I really liked was The Avengers with John Steed and Emma Peel.
Yes.
And there was something very similar about those two shows in terms of storylines. There was a lot of like sci-fi fantasy type thing in a show that is like, John Steed, Emma Peel are pretty much like kind of based off of James Bond, but the stories were a little bit more imaginative, more sci-fi, just more creative, I think. So those were kind of like the two big things. I liked the setting of the West because of the steampunk element incorporated in the Old West. Another big influence on this was the $6 Million Man. So I was a big fan of $6 Million Man growing up.
Sure.
So how do you kind of incorporate that? Well, it kind of just came together that the West was kind of the right setting. You put a vampire in there as well. And I just find the way they talked in not that I wasn't there or whatever, but when I do watch Westerns or when I watch shows that are based in the West, I like the way they talk. So I just wanted to kind of explore that whole deal. So
yeah, I was never a huge fan of Gunsmoke, the television series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was on all the time. My parents were watching it, but now that I'm older and I'm listening to the classics on radio all the time, I've got that XM station tuned in pretty much permanently.
Mm-hmm.
The Gunsmoke radio series with William Conrad doing Marshall Dillon, man, that he just carries that whole show, and the voice, Harley Bear as his sidekick Chester. Yeah, there was the way they talked in these old westerns. John Dehner as Paladin, those kind of people. It's enthralling. It really pulls you in. So if you're copying that kind of a dialogue and patter, then
that was a big part of this whole kind of the writing part, was to make. We weren't there, so it can't make it authentic. But when you read it, it's different than how somebody would speak now. And I think some of it is pretty funny, the way they talk and stuff, and it's just got its own thing. So it's pretty cool. So when me and Marty were working on it, he's the writer of the book. It was really trying to get that kind of that Western dialogue down, correctly.
Now, speaking of dialogue, we heard Alice talk.
Mm-hmm.
And she threw in that "I do declare" at the end there. That's usually a more Southern lilt thing, but I didn't get Southern from her, at least not antebellum South.
Yeah, she's pretty much like Alice is like so old that there's a little bit of the accent is more British than anything else, but she's been around everywhere. And I think she's a quick learner as well in terms of like picking up habits, traits, whatever, in whatever section of the world she's in. So I really wanted to kind of keep it open. We don't get into her origin or anything like that. It's basically you're thrown into this story where she's a vampire, and basically the story is about Alice and kind of Flint learning to kind of trust one another, because more so than Alice, Flint does not trust Alice at all. So that's kind of like, it's almost like a buddy kind of, like those buddy comedy movies or whatever. There's a little bit of that in there as well.
Yeah. So she's already pretty ancient. Even in the Old West. Yeah. Well, let's take a tour down here. So you got the story right up front, folks. If you want to find out all about what you're going to read and how big it is, 58-page book for the $25. That's better than most campaigns out there. You usually get like 48 page or even less. And you've got a panoply of different covers here. I love and hate that. I mean, I agonized over the Ghost Hawk and Falconet campaign because I'm like, which cover do I really want to get? And of course, I ended up getting that painted cover of Falconet, the clean one. I know there was a more expensive, less clean one, but I think I got a print. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check now. But you have artists that make people want to spend money. So you're recruiting the right talent.
Yeah, I art's a big part of a comic. So it was a big part with me when I was growing up that the art has to be really good. And if it doesn't meet certain standards, then I'm not going to go ahead with a book. So luckily we have a good stable of artists at X53. So this is the main cover by Daniel. He's also the interior artist on this.
Daniel Pasquale.
Yep.
Now I noticed that Alice's fashions don't necessarily follow the contemporary times.
So one of the things that was kind of like a running joke with Marty is that she's going to dress like this in the Old West, and nobody's going to question what she's wearing. So nobody like just people just think it's all right. It never gets bought up at all, and that's part of like the fun and kind of when you're doing your own type of thing that you can kind of set your own tone and stuff. So yeah, you'll notice like throughout the book what she's wearing, nobody like makes any comments about like she's like almost like not even dressed pretty much.
She reminds me of the girls that were in Warlord, and again,
the Mike Grell
book. Yeah, the Mike Grell Warlord.
Yeah.
Again, when comics were all ages, that didn't mean they were just for kids. My father would read Warlord and Jonah Hex, and I would read Warlord and Jonah Hex. And with Tara and some of the other girls in that thing, what they were wearing, I asked my dad, I'm like, and I'm a 13-year-old kid trying to get a rise out of him, like, what keeps their outfits on? Yeah. And I'll never forget, he just looked at me and said, ink. It's like, and that's what's holding Alice's outfit on.
Yeah,
because
that's at another stream for Arachna. We talked about this a little bit. When I was growing up, we didn't get into what the materials made out of, or is it realistic? It's imagination. It's comics. It's you don't have to. They're not supposed to. It's not the real world. Vampires don't exist in the real world. So why should we make like the clothing
cosplay challenge?
Yeah, like
when you say it's not supposed to exist, I say that's a cosplay challenge. Some lady get on that. Show
up.
At a con.
I'm sure somebody can. No, I mean like, like when they say, oh well, like this wouldn't happen in the. It's in the real world or whatever, and it's a comic, man. It's like it's your imagination.
If we wanted the real world, we'd read Catcher in the Rye or something.
Yeah, you just want escape. You want fantasy. You want fun. And you just want to have a good time reading this thing, and that's what we're going for. This first page, this is the first page of the book, and it's just pretty awesome in terms of the dynamics that Daniel drew with angles, everything. And also the coloring by Javi Lapera is really great on this. And what I love about comics is you have the story, you have the art, you have the coloring, you have the lettering, and it all comes together to make this one page and one book, which I just find fascinating. I find the process of creating comics fascinating.
And the first introduction to a character gives you the best insight. And when the first thing coming out of a guy's mouth is "son of a bitch," I know everything I need to know about Flint right now.
And you have to get into their heads a little bit. The hardest thing about making these comics is the plotting and the story, the writing the story part. Because you really have to get into those characters and how they talk. And I think there's one kind of test that I think a really good screenwriter said was that if you can take their dialogue And if you change the names and they all sound the same, then you kind of failed as a writer.
Yeah.
It really has to be, this is the way this guy talks. This is his kind of certain character beats. And then this is the way another one talks. It goes down to even like these, bandits and henchmen and stuff like that. They have a certain way of talking, and you have to be consistent throughout. So it's really cool. But it's a lot of work, but it's cool when you see everything come together.
And he is our bionic cowboy. So when you say that nobody talks about the way Alice dresses, is anybody taken aback by bionics?
No. It's just like it's kind of just thrown in there. Yeah,
just the way it is.
Yeah, it's just there. And it's a new universe. So I don't want to base it on our universe or our Earth or whatever. So there's much more stories to tell in here as well. So yeah, those type of things I wanted to. So if you look at that first, I don't know if you can read it, but that's some of the kind of like the dialogue I was talking about, the way they kind of talked in the West.
Oh yeah, you done gone and landed yourself in a heap of trouble now.
And here is Alice, who makes her debut. Yes. Quite a memorable one, I think.
Now she's appearing not to Flint, apparently. So these two, who are these two characters then? Who are we looking at?
So one is Flint, right? So there's a page skip here, so it's not in order right now. So this is page 8, and these bandits have kind of caught up to Flint, and he's they stopped the stagecoach, and they want what's on the stagecoach, and that's Flint saying, all right, well, you guys are in a heap of trouble now at this point. And there's some pages missing before this one, where they open up Alice's casket, and she bites one bandit's fingers off. And there's another really cool page where you see things from Alice's perspective, and their kind of veins run in on silhouettes. That's pretty cool too. So this is the page kind of after those pages.
Okay, so this wasn't Flint talking to her saying stay back. He already knows.
This is one of the bandits. Yeah.
Okay. And she just takes his tongue right out of him.
Yeah.
Eesh. And of course, still hungry. Well.
Yeah. So this guy, instead of having Alice eat him, he just shoots himself.
I don't know. There's a whole movement, and I've talked about this on panels at conventions before about the vampire mystique, why women just throw themselves at the vampire and want to be bitten. One would think that there would be a contingent of men that wouldn't mind letting Alice have a little nibble.
No. Yeah. So it was, it's kind of fun. So these are some of the decisions you're making as you're writing these things. And so this is the kind of main villain, which is De Graw, who is a dwarf, and then his kind of henchman, who is having this fight with Alice at this point. So he was, this is something that De Graw built on his own. Flint is also bionic, so Flint is a much better version of we call him Golem. Yeah.
So she's not what am I going to say? Indomitable in every single fight. She's going to have to work for things. I like.
Yeah, De Graw is he's very smart. He is. I would put him in the kind of the Tesla range in terms of intellect. So he can prepare for these things. Right now, as you see here, he's turning on these solar
sun lamps.
Yep, and that weakens her. So yeah, she definitely has like the vampire weaknesses of sunlight, and then De Graw's create solar sunlight. So this is Golem and Flint going at it.
Bionic versus bionic.
Yeah, this is much later on in the story.
So we're gonna have a lot of action in this, folks. If you are tired of Flint and Alice are not going to sit in the saloon and drink coffee and talk about this issue. They're going to go out and do something.
Yeah.
Now
So
this cover
is,
here, this is Robert Samlin. This is
freaking
gorgeous.
I reached out to him. He does a lot of Blu-ray jackets. I just love his work. I didn't think he'd say yes, but he said yeah, and he loved indie comics, so he was happy to do a cover. I just think it came out awesome. This cover.
This looks like an Avengers cover if the Avengers was a spaghetti western instead of 60 Spies.
Yeah, but it is beautiful work here.
Yeah, and then this other cover here is from Jungen Yoon.
Yep, and he did the Arachna covers. He also does covers for Marvel, Spider-Man, and Silk, and all these other things. So I'm glad we got him to do one. If you look at the detail in Flint's clothing with the buckle, the bullets, and all that stuff, is really cool.
Yeah, I was just looking at the skull and the crossbones on the buckle there. And he's got a bionic eye. I see it lit up there now. Yep. Interesting to me. I actually read Cyborg in high school, the novel from which the series was made, and the bionic eye in that was not a long range focus, I can see things far away thing. It was just a miniature camera, and he had to wink and take pictures, and then he'd pop his eyeball out, and they'd pull the film out and develop it.
So he can take pictures with his eye. It's not a. I was a big fan of Cyborg also. So. I know when they made the $6 million man, there was a lot of, not a lot. I mean, there were things that changed.
The thing I remember most was he was stuck in the desert with this one lady agent, and she taught him that he had to collect his urine and gargle it because they were going to be there for a while.
This is also one of my favorite images from this book. This is Dalmos. He did this cover. I wanted it black and white with some hints of color. So I think it really pops with the color in this book.
Yeah, it really does. And this is, there's no Flint here because, let's face it, Alice is what's selling the book. So why is Alice doing what she does now? I mean, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Flint and Alice at least believe they're the good guys.
Yeah, they believe they're the good guys. Alice partly is doing for redemption. I think she understands what what she is. She's also working for something called the Society. Well, both of them are working for Society, and that's a story for the second book. I think what's going to happen in the first book is going to set the tables for the second book. And for her, it's sort of a, if you want to call it a redemptive arc, there's a little piece of that. She wants to kind of help recruit certain people for this company that they work for.
Okay, so there are other extraordinary people out there that could be become part of this. You're going to be really surprised by what's behind the Society. It'll be pretty interesting. Now here's another Dalmos one. I love this one. This one, I just recently got some prints, some sci-fi mad scientist prints from Greg Hildebrandt.
Yeah, that's where this
right in this line.
I love Greg Hildebrandt's work, and I was lucky enough to meet both brothers a long time ago. I used to be an illustrator and showed them my work, and they were really kind. And where they say don't meet your heroes.
Yes.
They couldn't have been nicer. I don't know if you've met them. They could not have been nicer people. I spent over, I would say, close to 2 to 3 hours. They used to be in New Jersey. Their studio was it was about 45 minutes from where I was, and they sat and talked for a long time with me. So I'm a big fan of their work. So this is an homage to one of Greg's paintings.
Okay. So yeah, I was right on the money with the influence there. And that's another cover. Now Carlos Granda has a cover here.
Yep, Carlos, he does Arachna, and asked him to do a cover. He's actually got 2 covers. So this one is just a regular cover, and then there's another one that's going to be a hollow file.
All right. I'm going to ask a question. Is there any kind of a relationship between Flint and Alice other than partners?
No, they're just partners, and there might be some hints of some chemistry between them, but like Steed and Mrs. Peel, it was, there's always, looking back at Steed and Mrs. Peel, it was always like, Mrs. Peel was always looking for her husband. At the end of the Avengers, she found him, but there's no sexual thing going on between these two.
All right. And now this is, wow.
Jolly on Bates. So this, I was looking at this, I was at Forbidden Planet in New York City, and I was looking at some of these fanzines, and I saw this guy's work, and I was like, holy crap. And he does pictures, he did covers for Arrow videos, Blu-rays. And I was like, all right, let me ask him if he'd be interested. And he was, and I'm so glad, he's going to do covers. He's done a couple of covers for Arachna 3, and I'm glad he did this one. This one's really cool.
Yeah, this was a good get. This kind of reminds me of a Vampirella comic, but I'm familiar with the Arrow videos as well. I've got a number of them that we've done for reviews. So yeah, there's a Hammer feel to a lot of their stuff.
Yeah. And this is Renato Cunha, who does, he usually does he did the Arachna 1 cover, he did the Arachna 2 t-shirt. So I wanted to have him do kind of his take on this.
And then you got the holofoil.
This is going to be the holofoil.
Another Carlos Granda.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the holofoil, is it solid holofoil, or is it just the silver lining inside the casket holofoil?
I'm thinking about it. I think I'm going to look into a couple of different things. There's like spot type things that you can do. I'm going to look into it. Wanted to make this either maybe the casket or maybe the skulls, or I'm going to kind of see the options here.
Even just the again, if it were me, and you run your own company, if it were me, I would try to get a red spot holofoil on the lips and the outfit and leave everything else alone. But
yeah, that's a pretty good idea. Yeah.
But I'm just a mere art director. I'm not an artist. I can just direct.
No, man, you got to listen to everything. You can't just sometimes there's things that I'm very kind of specific about. Otherwise, other times I'm just open to anything.
You got some extra things on here. You're going to have standees. So these are a cool thing. I've got some standees from some different titles here. So this would be kind of cool to have. Now you've done the standees for Arachna and for Goshawk and Falconet.
Yep.
So
I love them. They're in my room now. So I'm slowly starting to take out all the Marvel and DC stuff and replacing them with the X53 stuff at this point. So.
Yeah, it's metaphorical meets reality now.
Yeah.
Just continue to replace them. You're going to have a hardcover edition?
Yep. So the hardcover is going to have the complete graphic novel, right? But it'll also have the complete graphic novel in black and white with no lettering or colors. So you can see what the art looks like without any kind of overlays.
Okay.
It's going to have all the pinups. It's going to have, and some other really kind of cool stuff in it.
And there will be a trading card. Now, I saw that there were trading cards further down, and I scrolled quickly back up. I'm like,
yeah, I wanted to make it a little bigger. Just so I want to see what a 5x7 trading card looks like. So it has the regular size there, but this is kind of a jumbo one. So I just wanted to kind of see what that would look like.
You can get that. That's a cool Vindicators logo for your T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then I saw this. I'm like, okay, I'm going to. That's going to go on my hat with all my other pins. I've got to make sure I get the lapel pin. Normally, I'm sitting here looking at, okay, what not safe for work print am I going to get? And I haven't scrolled down that far, but there not a whole lot on this one, unless things are going to change in the future as you.
Yeah, there's going to be one that's going to be NSFW, but and that'll be available with that mega pack. So. yeah, there's one that's definitely going to be available.
You do have art prints of all the different covers here, and they will be available through here. You get the starter pack for your X53 universe, which will get you Arachna 1, 2, Ghosthawk and Falconet 1, and the Vindicators 1. So you can, immerse yourself in the X53 Studios universe. And if you want, you can do it all in hardcover, which I'm going to guess is also going to be including the black and whites on each of these.
Yeah. Arachna 1 doesn't have it, but Arachna 2, Ghosthawk, Falconet, and Vindicators all going to have it. I'm going to a second printing of the Arachna 1, so I don't know. I might put that in just to kind of just make things consistent.
Okay. And, of course, here's the mega pack we just talked about with the Mystery Limited NSFW, where W might stand for work, W might stand for wife. Your mileage may vary. It's just, and a mystery box. What's in the mystery box?
Mystery box is I love these mystery box type of things. So there was only 10 available last time with Ghosthawk Falconet in both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. The feedback I got from them was fantastic. They, the 20 people that got them loved them, and I couldn't be happier. So sometimes with mystery boxes, you go, oh, well, I didn't want this or that or whatever, but they were all very happy with those mystery boxes.
The values of the items in the box will be between $400 to $500. So, hey, you could get first printings, you could get acrylic standees, you could get a hardcover, Gickley. I can never say that. Gigli prints.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like GIF or GIF. I don't know. I'll call it
Gickley. You have to get your Gickley prints. I'm sure their artists are rolling their eyes at me right now. This is where I was like, the first 25 physical backers will get the NSFW Alice trading card. Missed that. I also missed the first 50, so I don't get that because it was at 51 when I looked. I'm like, missed it.
Well, it's physical backer, so you might have gotten it.
I might sneak under the print, sneak under the wire there. Yeah, but I better hurry up. Never mind. And this is a 5x7 print, so this is postcard size, pretty much.
Yep.
A little bit bigger than a postcard. Bigger. Postcards are what, 4x6?
4x6.
Yeah. Now there's if you sign up today, if you sign up right now, you still get the Flint penciled trading card here. Not trading card, print 5x7 again. And who's doing the art on the prints?
Daniel's doing the art for these.
Okay. And then when you hit 5,000, which have we?
No, not yet. But not yet. I'm running these two campaigns together, like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. So we're past. We're close to 10 actually at this point. So
okay, I've never known anybody to do that simultaneously.
Huh? Sorry,
I've never known anybody to do it simultaneously. Yeah, usually it's like
usually I've done Indiegogo first, then I've done Kickstarter, then I've done like a 2-week type break between them, and I just wanted to see how simultaneously they would go. And it's just
I know the usual path is Kickstarter first, and then there's a path that they've got between them where you can carry over the money from your Kickstarter into your Indiegogo. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you activate it, you're funded because all your Kickstarter money just shows up.
Oh, really?
Karen Nicole does this with all her stuff. She'll start Kickstarter. She'll raise 30,000 there, and then she'll go to Indiegogo, and bam, $30,000 in 6 seconds. And the algorithm just starts
I didn't know that.
Everybody.
Maybe I'll do that with Arachna 3. So it can take the whatever number you've made off Kickstarter and apply it to Indiegogo.
Absolutely, it'll just say funded. You'll show 0 backers and $30,000, but it will definitely push it in front of people.
You learn something new every day. I'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Woody's talking to the art here. He's saying it's very impressive. Pops likes it. So that's a good endorsement. You need to get on Pop's channel someday. You're actually technically on Pop's channel tonight. We're simulcasting on the Madness Network, but get on some of his shows because he's got a lot of different show hosts who would be very interested in talking with you about the Old West and and vampires, monsters. Like Brian Christgau, if you're listening here, Brian runs a horror show on his channel, and B, he writes Six Gun Gorilla, which is set in the Old West. So there's a double threat there. He should definitely get with you and talk about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to remind everybody in 8 minutes, as we're wrapping things up here, pop over to Mike Walters' channel for the mic stand for the all the niche news in anime, manga, and professional wrestling and comics. That will be starting at the top of the hour here. Be sure you give that a like and subscribe. Try to finish up the campaign here because we haven't got to the tiers yet. We're looking at the stretch goals. But basically, like every $5,000, we're going to hit another card. Okay, so the tiers are not off to the left here. I'm going to have to scroll to the right. You can get the Vindicators here, basically the book. You're going to get that and all the stretch goals and the digital version for $25. That's a decent deal. You can get just the jumbo trading card. This is 5x7. This is kind of cool though. I mean, it's big, but it's a trading card. It's almost like one of those giant checks that Ed McMahon shows up at your door with.
Yeah. And a lot of these things I see people buying as add-ons. So it doesn't show up here, but it shows up when I get the email that somebody backed a project. So a lot of people are buying. Like when you do buy add-ons, you're saving on shipping. So definitely check out add-ons when you're getting something.
If you are out of space in your room and you simply can't get any more physical comics, the digital edition is here for $15 PDF. Which will be mailed to you. $15 for this lapel pin, and of course you'll still get all the unlocked stretch goals. It's a physical item, so you're good there. You're contributing, and then of course we'll look at the variant covers. If you like that Robert Samlin cover, $25. If you like that Dalmos art cover, remind me to click on this later, Siri. $25 for that one. Damn it, choices. I'm like, I'm sitting here thinking I've got those two El Dorado thieves in my head now saying, why not both? Both is good.
Well, there are the two cover options, so you pick your two favorite covers.
Yeah, but here's the problem. You've also got this Jolyon Yates cover here. There's three. Okay, that's $75. This is gonna hurt me. All the covers, $25. I like that. I know that some people, they're like, hey, I got, famous artist and he cost me a lot of money, so his cover is going to be $45. I hate that, but, I understand it. I like that they're all the same price. You just pick what you like. The acrylic standees, $25 each. That would seem like that would be a good one to make a pair as well.
Yeah, you can do add-ons where you can just add them together.
And we're back to the other variant covers, $25. Now this one's higher, but this is holofoil. I know it's more expensive to print this, so this makes perfect sense to make this a $35 cover. So if you want the Granda Alice holofoil cover, $35. T-shirt, $35 because it's low print run. I bought one of a patch today and it cost me $25. So low print runs are expensive. And here you go. Pick your two favorite covers and save $5. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is going to help me. Because wow, it was so hard to pick. Now, of course, you can look at this. I can pick my three favorite covers and save $15. See, you were thinking ahead on me already.
Yeah.
RJ's going to want three of those different covers. Although I'm thinking, wow, if I could add on the prints, but the prints come as a set, right?
Three. You pick your three favorite ones, and they're 11 by 17 each.
Oh, the big ones. Ooh, 11 by 17. When I get an 11 by 17 print, that usually means that the day after it arrives, I go to Walmart and get an 11 by 17 frame.
Yeah.
And it goes on the wall. So, yeah, one of these is going on the three. I guess three of these are going on the wall since it's a pick three. You can get all four of the graphic novels right here. We saw that. And the hardcover, $180 to get all four of them this way. And it still comes with the digital editions, by the way, folks, and all the stretch goals. The Mega Pack, which will have the mystery print, have the digital edition, all 8 print edition covers, the exclusive Not Safe for Work variant cover, and the holofoil cover. So, yeah, it's the whole shooting match. That's what it should have been called. It's an Old West thing. It's the whole shooting match. And then the X53 mystery box, $250 for a minimum $400 value. 3 out of 10 of these acclaimed. It's a limited deal, so 7 more left. So I've reached the point now where I've talked a lot. So interrupt me at any time, Asif, if you need to here. But I'm going to reload this page to see, did things change? This is where I get super embarrassed because nothing happened.
No, so one of the things I've learned about these campaigns, and it's very stressful to run these things, because right now it's doing both Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Where it was before, I would do Indiegogo first, Kickstarter, so it's like 2 months of tension, and right now it's a month of tension. And what I've learned is that you got to look at it once it's over. So once the 30 days are over, then you see where everything is. So this one is going the same kind of route as Ghosthawk and Falconet in terms of where it is. So I think it'll probably be around there. When you create a new IP, it's always kind of like a little bit lower than the main one, which for us is Arachna. So it's a very kind of tense month, and you tend to kind of be hitting refresh a lot. But since this is over 2 different platforms right now, I just need to make sure that it is moving, not stale. So we're getting a good amount of backers every day. So the
argument I've heard against using both platforms at the same time is that you're splitting your audience. I mean, all those people could have all funneled into one, and this one could have hit the funding goal by now.
I think this will hit funding goal. I don't think that's an issue. The Kickstarter's at around I think 6,200, something like that. So it'll definitely hit the funding goal. I just feel like certain people are very, very specific to Indiegogo. Other people are very specific to Kickstarter.
They are. I mean, this has Kickstarter written all over it because Kickstarter is where you go for the bad girl, big boob comic.
Yeah. So it's I'm kind of, part of it's just kind of learning. So, my day job is in marketing. And one of the things I stress to the staff that works for me is to, try different things. Don't be afraid of doing certain things. Now, they might backfire, they might not backfire, but at least I was kind of curious if you do both at the same time, what the results are going to be. But I feel like I think it's where it needs to be at this point. It's close to, I think we might be over or close to 10K at this point. It hasn't been a week yet. So I think it's going well. And I didn't know, I'm glad I talked to you today about it. I didn't know that there was where you can take the Kickstarter total and apply it to the Indiegogo total.
Yes.
And
both those exist. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say there's also fundmycomic.com.
That's the other thing I was going to say is that's something that I've been hearing more and more about in the last, I would say, few months. So that is, and a lot more in the last month than the last few months. So that's something that I would probably do moving forward as well. See, we're a small studio at this point, and we need to get as many people as possible that support our book. So I'm not playing favorites anywhere. There's other things.
Everywhere.
Yeah, Indiegogo's got his thing that they shadow ban certain Comicscape's book. Kickstarter got their thing. They just removed Mike Barron's book. So you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to. I don't want to be playing favorite. So it's just I'm just going to put it on. If you're into the book, if you're into the art, if you're into the story, back us. I don't have any allegiances towards anybody. So basically, we're at the point right now where we just need to build our tribe, right? Right now, We know X amount of people are going to support us, and we just need to keep building on it. And then the more new people we get, I know we will deliver these books on time. I know people, once they read it, they'll love it. But we just need to get it out to as many people as possible. So I'm not into like, I only do Indiegogo, or I only do Kickstarter, or I only do this or that. So, Backer Kit might be doing this also. Sorry?
Sell comics anywhere they sell.
Yeah. Just get it out in front of as many people as you can. And the product, I think, is good. I think not because I'm appearing on your show or whatever, but I think if you look at the art, the interior artwork, right, and put it against any book, Marvel, DC, Image, whatever, I think it compares very, very favorable to them. So I'll put my book up against anything. The paper we use is much better than any of these other publishers they use. So overall, I think, we have a very, very competitive product. The only thing is we just got to get it out in front of as many people as we can.
I can attest to the quality of these books, folks. I possess them. They've been in my hot little hands. These are not cheaply printed books. Marty has an interesting question. I've talked about both of these things in the past on different shows, and I'll be happy to expound on it again. He says, what's your thoughts on offering a collectible card game versus traditional trading cards as perks tiers? So first of all, with trading cards, people haven't really taken advantage of what trading cards are. If you remember, trading cards were about the chase. And how do you make trading cards a chase thing when you've got your campaign? What I have proposed multiple times is that you indie folk need to network with each other. And, like X53 could say, hey, 4, 5, maybe even 8 other indie creators, can we get all 8 of our characters, or if you've got 2 characters with Ghost Hawk and Falconet, and they've got 3 characters with another one, can we do something where we can get 9 distinct cards between all of us and have one artist paint one scene like the X-Men Fleer cards, where you've got all 9 of your characters, but they make a picture when they're all together, so that you can say, hey, here's this card or these 2 cards with this campaign. Did you know that if you go to this campaign, you can get the other 3 cards, or this campaign, you can get the other 5 cards? All these campaigns will go together. We're OCD in this community. We the fans have this, and we, as much as we complain about the crossovers and everything, there's a reason why they still do the crossovers, because we still buy them. And as long as we do that, they're going to keep doing it. Yeah. We're completionists. So I might have said, hey, I backed Ghost Hawk and Falconet, and I backed this other campaign. You mean if I go get these other... Well, now I've got to, because I've got to complete the set. I can't just have them in the page with holes in it. I've got to have all 5 cards. I've got to have, all 9 cards. It's got to be a complete picture. That's what I think trading cards should be. You've got to chase them. So now you've got to go to these other campaigns. So you're sending people to other campaigns. They're, of course, sending people to your campaign. And you all all your boats rise on that tide.
I think that's something that I have not done more of, in terms of even as something as simple as just, doing like an update of, promoting somebody else's and they'll promote yours and stuff. I read somewhere that as I think there's a competitive nature to a lot of these campaigns, but this guy had an interesting point where he said that basically we're all kind of in the same boat. We're indie creators, and we should be kind of promoting each other. Be
competitive, but you can still be competitive and realize, hey, by participating in this, I've got 8 other campaigns that are sending people to me that might not have come to me.
Yeah.
So it's an investment. It's, you can hate the people, go ahead, but use them and get your thing. As for a collectible trading card game, this is something else I've talked about a long time ago. Somebody could put together a basic trading card game, and I know people are working on it. I haven't seen it come out yet. I know a couple of different people are doing it, but ideally it would be like an open source kind of thing, where the engine would be licensable, and not for a whole bunch, but just say, yeah, if you want to participate in our game dynamics or mechanics, and you want it to be official, buy a license from us, and then you can make, X number of cards, so that if you had an Arachna set of cards, and you've got the rules for how they work, and you sold that trading card pack with the Arachna 1 book, and then you come out and you say, hey, here's some supplemental cards for Vindicators and some supplemental cards for Ghosthawk. You can shuffle them into the deck and they still work with the game dynamics. Now, if you're licensing that game out to other creators, and you're sitting down to play whatever the game is called, and you're putting your cards out, and you suddenly throw out a Cyberfrog card, your opponent's gonna be like, where the hell did that come from? And it's official, and it fits the rules, and it doesn't break the structure of the game. Or you could have, characters from the Lucent, or characters from Private American, and then you've got this intermingled crossover. You've got a crossover happening that nobody has to make happen but you, the player. You get your cards from wherever and throw them into the game.
Yep. Well, this is something Marty's big into, so he's always asking about cards. So,
well, Marty, take that, go forth and conquer. Somebody's going to do it, and when they do, it's going to explode. So that's, and maybe it's all pie in the sky, because I know working with other creators is a lot like herding cats.
Yeah, I think it's part of it's just going to be, you do more and more of these, and you'll make more and more connections and stuff. The other part is, it's part of it. Like it's I do a full-time job. I have another business I work on, and then it's this. So hours-wise, there's not too many hours in the day that are left. And I got a family also, so you got to try to spend some time there. Sure. As I grow this out, right now, starting to work on Arachna 3 at this point, and that campaign. And after that, there's going to be a team book that we're releasing called the Omada. And after that, it's going to be Ghosthawk Falconet. And I'm also talking to these guys about create our own project as well. So, I want them to grow with the company as well. So there's only so much time in the day that you have that you can do this. So it's just finding that time to do this, right? Part of it, there's a charm in this also. We don't do this. This is not our full-time thing. This is done nights, weekends. I was on, I think it's Joe Sontag's stream, and I think he does a full-time job also, and he's doing this also at nights, weekends, and stuff. And there's something interesting and almost kind of romantic about doing things like this, because this is for the craft. We're not doing this for the money or anything like that. Basically, I was sick of what I call corporate comics, which is Marvel, DC, and instead of complaining about it, you create your own thing, and that's take that energy, take that focus, and put it into something that's down the road will be your own. How much I get, streamers are they're monetized, they're making money off this stuff, but to me, complaining about what Marvel and DC is doing with their characters, I don't give a shit, because it's basically, it's not even the characters, it's the talent that was on these characters. So John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Terry Austin made the X-Men. Before that, it was X-Men was a floundering book. It wasn't, Dave Cockrum too. I think Dave Cockrum doesn't get enough credit for the X-Men. But Fantastic Four was made on the shoulders of Lee Kirby, and then Byrne, and then there was a great Perez run and all this stuff. So it's really the creators that made these things. At this point, I don't even recognize these characters, and I don't really care, honestly. They're ruined at this point. So go listen. There's plenty of people who are in the independent market who are creating their own things that are also influenced by these books from the 80s, the 90s. They're creating their own characters. It's a more unique vision. It's not corporatized. Go look at these books that these indie creators are doing on Indiegogo, Kickstarter, and you'll see a lot of good stuff coming out of there. So I would say just, support those guys. You don't have to go support this, this crap that they're putting out.
Absolutely. So you've got a fourth title coming out, and my question regarding that is how many titles is sustainable when you're crowdfunding? Because minimum crowdfunding is 3 months. That's if you run it 30 days, print it in 30 days, and fulfill it in 30 days. So if you've got 4 titles, if you just cycle through those in a year, you've got a year between issues of the same title. How do you how could you do that?
I think 4 is the max. I was going to do 4 campaigns this year. It looks like it's going to be 3 this year. But it's just a lot of work because it's not just the putting on the campaign and putting on these things. The shipping and all that stuff is 2 months minimum for each campaign. So that takes up a lot of time. And so yeah, 4 I think is the max in terms of what we can do. Now what we do is, and I'm not really that experienced in this, is to maybe start looking at comic shops or something like that, do something at a smaller level, like maybe a 20-page book on cheaper paper or whatever that kind of fits into that $5.99 mold.
Right.
And then maybe look at distribution via that. But for crowdfunding, dude, I think 4 is a max in terms of what you can do. So I don't think it's possible to do more than that, unless you kind of scale or do whatever. But we don't make enough to be scaling and stuff. So it's just 4 is going to be the max. That's going to be it.
Either that or start hiring. I know some people, they hire more people onto the team, and then one guy's running one crowdfunder and the other guy's running the other crowdfunder, but it's both the same studio.
Yeah, I'm a little, so in my day job, I'm not very micromanagey, but as Marty will tell you, I'm extremely micromanagey when it comes to these books. And again, the writing part is just a lot of work, and there's a lot of back and forth that Marty and I do on the writing part. And I think Marty has the toughest job in the whole, between the artist, the letterer, the whatever, colorist. As a writer, I think there's a lot of things that I'm looking for in terms of character beats, plot lines, things like that, you're not just telling kind of one story. You want to kind of make it so you can go back and say, oh, look, they were thinking about this already back in issue 1, that type of thing.
That's kind of stuff that used to make the Marvel Universe.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really that's probably the most difficult part, is the time consuming part. I won't say difficult. Time consuming is the writing. It's tough.
You guys are making it happen, and again, quality product, folks. Hit the link below the video. Get out there and fund the. I've got the Indiegogo link, but there is a Kickstarter link that I didn't grab. Wherever you want to fund the book, that's your prerogative. Whatever you like, get out there and make this one happen make it happen on both platforms. You can do that. Asif, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and bringing the Vindicators to us. And do appreciate getting to meet your new characters and watching this universe grow out further.
Yep. RJ, thanks for having me. I'm going to see you with Arachna 3 next time, which will probably be in another month or 2. So
fantastic.
I'm looking forward to that as well, because Arachna is going to be in for quite an issue 3. So
she's the masthead character for the company. So
yeah. So
she's your Superman.
Yeah.
All right, everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being here tonight. We don't have a show without you, so we're glad that you're here. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.